So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Thursday morning gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim and Tufts Health Plan. My name is Tara Healey, and John Roberts, our operations manager of our program, Mind the Moment, will be joining us for a couple minutes to give a few updates about upcoming programs. And if there's anybody here new joining for the first time, our meditation practice today is about 12 minutes, fully guided. We usually finish up about 10 minutes before the top of the hour. And you can hop off or stay on, and we share resources and Q&A and all that good stuff. Jonathan.
Oh, on to me. All right. Well, thank you, Tara. Thank you for that. So, Tara, as you know, I'm here as I often am, representing Living Well Community, the hub for interactive virtual wellness classes and on-demand programming created and curated for all of us by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan, our beneficiaries. Tara, as you know, this month I've had this privilege and even honor, I might say, of supporting these sessions entitled Parenting as Practice, Mindfulness for Busy Moms and Dads. Sessions which have been led by our friend, the wonderful instructor, Healey. Now, I've been thinking, Tara, about how to pithily summarize some of the insights which sharing in these sessions. And I discovered one way to do so while listening to a very different kind of presentation recently. What I was listening to was an episode of the Ezra Klein Show. You know it. You love it.
Yes.
Podcast hosted by Ezra Klein, who is an op-ed columnist for the New York Times. Folks don't know. And one of Klein's guests on this particular episode was Andrew Marantz, who is a journalist who contributes to the New Yorker, among other publications. And Klein and Marantz, they were having a kind of broad conversation about political movements, how political movements evolve, how they ripen, how they burst. And Marantz said something that struck me. This is what he said. He said, to see things clearly, you need to make sure that you're not writing backwards from the end of the story. Make sure you're not writing backwards from the end of the story. And what he meant was, if you're observing a moment in history, it would be foolish to say, I know where this is going. I know where this is going to end up, and I'm going to report on it as though I know how this story is going to end.
Yeah.
Now, which is not to say it's not okay to speculate, but it will probably not do a person any favors if you treat your speculations about what might come as though those speculations were natural fact. All right. And yet, Tara, this temptation to write backwards from the end of the story, in my experience as a parent, it's an exceedingly easy trap to fall into, right? Because there's so many ways as a parent that I find myself worrying about how I'm interacting with my son, who's not quite 5, because I fear that every misstep I make is going to cause him to become maladjusted later in life. But I think, like, if I let him watch too much TV, it's going to turn him into a socially isolated loner. Or if I tell him that we're all going to die someday, is it going to make him morbid? It's going to freak him out and ruin his beautiful childhood innocence? Or, and this is what Kara talked about specifically, does something to hurt me physically or emotionally, intentionally or otherwise. Expressing my natural reaction to his behavior somehow traumatize him. Okay, so now here's the example that Kara gave. She talked about how if her own son is behaving badly towards her, then sometimes she finds that she needs to leave the room in order to cool down, right? And the act of her leaving the room may cause her son to become upset, maybe more upset than he had been in the first place. And seeing one's child being upset can be kind of scary for parents. But sometimes one has to address their own needs before they can fully and effectively address the needs of another person. Kara said that she believed it is vital for parents to model for their children not only what it looks like to have an emotional reaction, but what it looks like to deal with and process those emotional reactions. So to model not only compassion towards other people, but compassion towards oneself, and to show our children that as adults, as their parents, we sometimes need to be self-compassionate first, even if that realization may feel upsetting to the child in the moment. Because otherwise, into the story. Child has lessons to learn later in life, not because they saw their parent get angry, but because they never saw their parent have a true emotional reaction and never got to see what it looked like through that emotional reaction in a productive way. Does that sound right to you, Tara?
No, definitely. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I have to ask, I mean, do you feel like your parents sort of like modeled true emotional reactions to you? Or because I will say, I've described my own father as being a bit of a black box. Like we don't really know what's going on in there.
Right.
And that could be a little bit disconcerting, right? I feel like
Yeah, no, it
I'm
can be.
missing
I
out.
mean, and John, interestingly, our parents were sort of a similar-ish generation, our
Mm.
moms
Hmm.
especially. I think they did the best that they could, but it wasn't always an easy read, or sometimes it was too easy a read. And I absolutely, loved my parents, but they didn't always get it right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where we can lend some compassion, right?
Yeah.
To
Yes. Yes.
whether or not they're still with us, because I feel that is important. I mean, I feel
Right.
like, my mother has passed, that it still feels important to extend some compassion towards her,
Totally. Yes.
part of my own
Yes.
life process. So, Tara, you may have noticed a resonance in what Cara was talking about with something else that we have just around the corner, which is the interview
Yes.
with Chris Germer, which we
Yes. Thank you, John.
oh, thank you, Tara. Next Tuesday, May 27th, 12
Is it,
p.m. to
is it,
12:30 p.m.
okay.
Eastern.
Yeah.
Now, this is part of our Art and Science of Awareness series. Now, Chris, as you know, Tara, one of the premier researchers studying the benefits of self-compassion, the many health and wellness benefits of self-compassion, as well as how mindfulness practices can support us in taking full advantage of those benefits. And in fact, Chris's latest book is about just that. It's entitled Mindful Self-Compassion for Burnout: Tools to Help You Heal and Recharge When You're Wrung Out by Stress. Tara, can I ask you what you might be excited to talk with Chris about next week?
Yes. So, Chris Germer is just a wonderful, humble, wise human being. And I think of him sort of the way I think of Sharon Salzberg with doing metta and compassion practices. Like Chris, and I think, he'll talk about this too, but from his own kind of anxiety around presenting, and that offering himself some compassion really changed his life. And so I'll be talking to him about his story, like what was the spark that put him on this particular path? And then what can we do? And I'm going to have him lead us in a guided self-compassion practice, and then leave us with some tools so that we can practice self-compassion on our own.
Oh, that's great. So, okay, so you're gonna be inviting him to do some of the practices
Yeah,
in the session,
yeah,
so folks can actually get a little bit of
yeah.
experience with that, and then take that away.
And also talk about the research.
Hmm.
Like what do we know about whether or not this actually works?
Tara, this sounds like a complete nutrient. This presentation. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking
In
forward to
30 minutes, 12 to
in 30
12:30.
minutes or less. That's right. Tara, if I could, one more thing. I'm this idea of returning to this idea of not writing backwards from the end of the
Yeah,
story. Would you agree that this is kind of a mindfulness principle in general? Like, one thing that we want to avoid doing is concentrating so intensely on an imagined future outcome that we're doing so at
yeah,
the expense of giving our attention to what's happening in front of us.
yes,
We want to make sure that we're not treating the things in front of us as though they are portents or signs of what must come, but just facts, bare
yeah.
facts that could accumulate this way or accumulate that way or become this thing or become this other thing. Does that sound right? Is that
Absolutely. And John, I would just underscore one of the things you kind of opened with. It's that mindfulness is a path towards seeing clearly what's actually happening. And so I love it when I hear journalists or folks kind of use that language, perhaps not even fully aware that it's related to these practices. But we are in just a moment, we'll be moving into practice to help kind of settle or calibrate the mind so that mindfulness can do its job most effectively.
beautiful? Well, that sounds like a wonderful segue. Tara, before I go, I'm just going to drop into the chat
Great.
some links here. You can three links, I believe. Yes, one where you can go to see the recordings of the sessions with Carly, if you would like. A link where you can join the session with Chris Germer next Tuesday, and and also a link that you can use to add that session to your e-calendar if that's something you
Great. That's
and like,
great, John. Thank you.
of course, I just want to make sure folks know that all of these programs that are linked to here are free and open to anyone. So please do share them around if you like. Tara, thank you as always for
Thank
having
you,
me. Great to
John.
see you. Great to see everyone this morning, and have a wonderful meditation. See you
Thank you, John. All right, so let's go ahead and move into practice. So you want to just, find a posture that feels like it's going to serve you best this morning. That could be seated, it could be standing, it could be lying down, even as long as you're not too tired. And just take a moment to select the posture. And then your eyes can be open or closed. If they're open, they're just gaze downward a little bit. And go ahead and surrender your weight into the support of the surface. Surrender your weight into the support of the ground below, yet maintain an engaged posture. So a spine that is upright and engaged, not too tight, not too loose. And make any micro movements that are needed for comfort, ease, and engagement. And we'll begin by letting go of all that has happened so far this morning and releasing anticipation of what's next. And allowing yourself to arrive fully here in this moment, mind and body together. And the mind's tendency is to be in the past or the future with a consequent disconnection from the very moment we're in. And so, what we're doing here is just kind of allowing ourselves to arrive, both mind and body. And just settle into your posture and notice whole body awareness, what sensations are most prominent, perhaps aware of just simply noticing the points of contact with the back of the body and the surface. And so, not thinking about it, but actually feeling from the inside the various points of contact with your body and surface. And what does that feel like? Also noticing how the body is from your activity this morning. So pulsing, vibration, heartbeat, tingling, temperature. We're just receiving the raw data without commentary. We may be experiencing sensations we like or sensations we wish we didn't have. And bringing an attitude of receptivity and curiosity to whatever is happening. Oftentimes, when things are unpleasant or don't feel good, there's a natural tendency to resist or distract from the experience. But in this practice, we're actually learning, in a sense, to put our toe in the water with the unpleasantness. See if we can come out of the narrative about it and just feel the physicality of it. Similar with things that are pleasant and feel good. Those things too are of a nature to change, and there can be a desire for them to stay, a kind of holding. And we want to see that too. So, as if you're a scientist and the subject, simply receiving what the body is offering, noticing sensation. And let's take a moment to expand awareness to include sound. The sound that may be in the room that you're in or outside of the room. Engaging hearing, simply hearing. And allowing sounds to come and go, to arise, do their thing, and move on. Or perhaps there's a consistent sound in the background. Just allowing that in your field of awareness. And let's begin to find an anchor for the wandering mind. So that could be a broad anchor, such as the sensations you feel anywhere in the body when you inhale and exhale. So it could be the whole carriage of the body as you breathe in and breathe out, and the feeling from the inside of that movement. It could be more narrow focus, like the abdomen rising and falling and feeling that. You can even narrow it further if you notice the air entering and leaving the nostrils. It could be that. Alternatively, you could take your palms and rest them on the top of your thighs or rest your hands together. And those touch points, the actual feeling would be what you return the mind to. Or if you have a sound in your background, you could open to that. And each time the mind wanders and we notice it, not a problem. Thoughts slip in unnoticed all the time, and as soon as they become noticed, that's a really significant moment. You're just simply going to say, thinking, soften your body, and return to whatever anchor feels best for you today. So I'll be silent for the next couple minutes. And noticing where the mind is. Just simply letting go of the narrative, soften your body and return. Again, noticing where the mind is. Just gently letting go of the memory or the planning. Let your body soften and return to your anchor. As we bring this meditation to a close, may we be peaceful and at ease. May our heart be soft and open. May we be safe and protected, and our bodies healthy and strong. And may whatever good comes of our practice be a benefit to all beings. So, taking a moment, if the eyes were closed, to open the eyes and just reorient to the room you're in, maybe look around a little bit, reconnect with your surroundings. And we do have time for Q&A. So if anybody would like to, well, first of all, let me also give another plug for Chris Germer next week on Tuesday at noon. He is just a wonderful presenter. He's a wonderful human. His work on self-compassion has really been revolutionary. I mean, I think that he has helped so many people. He and Kristen Neff developed this program on mindful self-compassion. So he'll be really kind of unpacking what mindfulness is, what self-compassion is, how the two interface and relate, and then taking us through a practice, but also leaving us with kind of practical tips and tools for how we can cultivate self-compassion. And he's really, really wonderful. And again, anybody can join. You don't have to be a Harvard, Pilgrim, or Tufts member. These are open to anybody. So I've also been sharing with family members that are not local, but just inviting them to join. So feel free to share the link. But anything at all that you would like to offer, if you've read a good book or been listening to a podcast that's been helpful, or there's an app that you really like, there's just, go ahead and share that in the chat. Maybe I'll find a poem to read as a way to close. So I really love the poetry of Dana Falls. I feel like she's kind of a modern day Rumi. Um, yeah, this is a good one. So this is called Wordless Sermon. Wordless Sermon. The sea breathes its way inside me. The rough and tumble rush of waves is balanced by the easy way the water recedes, clear blue disappearing into blue. All my senses are awake to the impersonal magnificence of nature. Even the need to pray drops away beside the ocean's wordless sermon. I love that, especially in the tumultuous and violent times that we are living in, to be able to balance some of the horror of what we're experiencing globally with the beauty and the truth of what nature offers and providing some balance. So I guess I would leave you with that. We're at 8:57, unless just kind of last call for a comment or a question or really anything at all. Yeah, Francis, it's a good one. I especially, I think I love just the wordless sermon. You know, one of the things too, it just reminded me, this was sort of random that I picked that one because I didn't know what I was going to read this morning, but Chris Germer talks about using the rhythm of our own breath, kind of related to the rhythm of the waving ocean, that our breath is life-giving and that it arises and that it recedes, and using the breath as a way, and of course for thousands of years the breath has been used for purposes of calming the mind and the body. And there is something about the way the ocean arises and passes. So one other thing that I just want to, anybody that is here that's a Point 32 health colleague, there is going to be a blood drive on Tuesday in Canton. So that if you're local and available, just go to the Compass page to sign up for that blood drive. That would be really awesome. I'm too far away. But so any of my Point 32 colleagues, please go to Compass, and if you can, go ahead and sign up for the blood drive. It's actually it's a wonderful, generous opportunity, an opportunity for generosity, I should say. All right, everybody, we are at 8:59, so I think we are good. And so Monday's a holiday. We're kind of coming into a long weekend. I just wish everybody well and safety. And hopefully I will see you on Tuesday at noon for the presentation with Chris. And then again, of course, we have our Wednesday and Thursday morning practices. So everybody be safe and have a good weekend, and see you soon. Okay, bye.